This is Getting By Better, the daily update that pays off.
The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau runs a portal where you can file complaints about things like credit reports or debt collection. But now that system may change. In this Watching Your Wallet, Carice Jackman explains what's changing and what it could mean for you.
The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's complaint portal is meant to give people a place to report problems with financial companies, including credit bureaus. But some advocates say new messages added to that process could make it harder or at least more confusing for people trying to file a complaint. Chi-Chi Yu is Director of Consumer Reporting and Data Advocacy at the National Consumer Law Center. She says her group is concerned about changes it has seen on the CFPB's portal.
The change is they put in not one, not two, but multiple screens before you can file a complaint, telling consumers that if they have a complaint against the credit bureaus, that they have to file a dispute with the credit bureaus first and wait for that to be resolved before they can file a complaint with the CFPB.
Wu says that language could leave some people thinking they cannot file a CFPB complaint until they take other steps first.
We are concerned that this could deter some consumers from filing complaints.
But industry leaders see it differently. Dan Smith, president and CEO of the Consumer Data Industry Association, or CDIA, says the system is being flooded with complaints he argues are not legitimate.
What consumers are doing, they're using the complaint portal in an attempt to wash their credits, right, by inundating the system with millions of complaints. And we see data as high as 95% of those complaints are not legitimate dispute requests.
The CDIA has pushed for changes to the portal, saying the CFPB should do more to screen out complaints it believes are inaccurate, misdirected, or tied to credit repair abuse.
And we're just asking the Bureau to look at your system, look at the data, analyze it, and see if you think those are legitimate complaints, or are they people trying to credit wash? And you shouldn't allow your system, the federal government system, to allow people to perpetuate illegal activity.
The CFPB sent us a statement defending the change, saying, by reminding people of the legal process to fix or investigate their credit, we're able to help more people. Right now, the system is overwhelmed by issues that aren't related or CFPB is not able to solve. The agency also said that by law, people reporting inaccuracies or incompleteness on a credit report first have to report it to a credit reporting agency before the CFPB can open an investigation. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Carice Jackman.
Consumer advocates say you should still document your problems and file complaints if you believe your rights were violated. Well, before